Well, hey, hello. It is Wednesday, and that means it is Wine All About It Wednesday here in the Organizing Lounge. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm going to do my housekeeping check-in because I want to make sure that you can see me in the group. So give me one quick second here, and we will get started. All right. So as you know, last week was a throwback. I did a replay last week of one of my favorite topics, which is all about how your thoughts and your feelings are, how you can actually control how you feel by changing different thoughts. And sometimes we don't think about that. It's a really hard topic to wrap your mind around, but to the whole concept of taking your circumstance and how that affects your thoughts and your feelings and what result you get. It's just fascinating to me. So the reason why was because I was on a vacation with my husband. We had our 20th anniversary vacation, and we were able to go to wine country, and it was so fun. And that's why we had the replay. And so tonight is live. I'm back again. Hey, Gina. Hello. Okay, so now I know you can see me. Hey, Krista. Hey. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about productivity. And I know that I talk about productivity a lot, but it is something that really affects all different parts of your life, right? It affects, how you deal with your time, obviously, but it also affects what you can get done when you're trying to get organizing done. When you say you don't have time and you have all these things going on. Productivity is a really big thing. It's something that I focus on myself, and actually something that I work on really hard myself because I struggle with my time sometimes. So tonight, we're going to be talking about distractions and how to tackle your distractions so that you can create a sanctuary for success. So if you have a business at home, or if you work out of the home, or you work in the home as a mom and you're taking care of all the things, you are working and you want to have success in all that you're doing, and distractions can take that away from us. It can sabotage everything. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So be sure to type your name in or actually click the link. I guess it would be clicking the link above that says to give StreamYard permission to show your name so I can see. And if you have any questions, put question in the front so I know. Hey, Ev, how are you? How are you? All right, so let's get to it. We're going to talk about why we have distractions. We're going to talk about the types of distractions, and then we're going to talk about ways of tackling them. So we've got a whole lot of stuff to cover tonight. Okay, so reasons why we have distractions. Well, you can just automatically, we're doing too much stuff, right? So that's one of them. One of the things is that we put too much on our plates. I myself have this issue sometimes because I don't like to say no, and I don't know when to say no sometimes, and I'm getting better at it, but it's a work in progress. And so, so many times we do, and we say we can, but that fills up our plate, and then the plate starts overflowing, and we have so much to do, and then we get distracted because we're trying to do this and that and the other thing, right? And we can't focus because we've got all of this stuff going on. So one of the reasons for distractions is that you have too much stuff. Another reason why we have distractions is because we don't have a plan. And so I have in my notes, I have a bullet point that says the plan, and then also another bullet point that says reacting and not acting. And those kind of go together. So when you are reacting to everything, you're constantly running and chasing and trying to catch up and put out the fires and do all the things, right? And when we can act instead of reacting, that is going to help tremendously. And that is creating a plan will help you act. And So an example of acting rather than reacting would be, as an example, the night before your child has to go to school. If you know all of the different things that have to happen in the morning, and you can, think about all of the stuff that, usually goes wrong, or all the stuff that usually happens, you can take care of things the night before to help you in the morning. So if you have littles, you can help them pick out their clothes that they're going to wear and have those laid out. You can pre-make some of their lunch. You can have their backpack put together. That's just a little example. If you have children that you're taking care of, to actually act instead of react to what's happening. Because if you don't do that, and then you wake up in the morning, and then, you end up waking up a little bit late, or you forget to turn your alarm off, or you turn your alarm off, which I do sometimes, then all of a sudden you have to do all of these things, and you're trying to catch up, so you're reacting. So thinking about creating a plan is going to help you. So not having a plan and always reacting is one of the reasons why we have distractions. Another reason that we don't often think about is something that I talk about in the Ready, Set, Organize event, which is you can have mental or physical things, mental disorders, physical ailments. You could have diseases, any kind of thing like that, mental or physical, that actually play into getting distracted. I know that if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have if you have different things going on with your hormones, for example, those kinds of things can also affect how you plan, act, or react, right? And that can also cause us to go here, there, and everywhere. If you have ADHD, you are almost automatically, that's kind of a thing that, a stereotype of, starting something and then bouncing to something else and bouncing to something else. So it might be that you don't really have all control over it, but by being aware of some of the things that I'm talking about tonight, that can help you. And if you are aware that you have ADHD, or if you have anxiety, or if you have something going on physically that is keeping you from doing things quicker, for example, then you can take that awareness and actually create a plan, because you know that those things are going to happen, and planning ahead is going to help you. Right. Good evening. Hey, Mary Fran, how are you? I love having everybody here live, and I love everybody that watches the replay. So make sure to tell me you're watching the replay as well. I love that. I know that not everybody can make it live, obviously. So here's a little ditty for you to think about. It takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds to refocus once you've been distracted. So think about that. 23 minutes and 15 seconds. That's pretty specific, right? But almost 25 minutes that it takes you to refocus once you have been distracted. So when you are doing something, whether it's a task at your desk, whether it's a task in the kitchen, whether it's, whether you're doing chores, whether you're doing phone calls, whether you're doing, things for your business, whatever it is, emails, phone calls, all those things, if you're doing something and then you get distracted and you start doing something else, when you go to come back, it takes a long time to get back into that groove of doing things. And I've mentioned this before in some of the Wine About It Wednesdays that I've talked about productivity. There's a handful of them when I talk about batching and time blocking and time management and all that kind of stuff that comes into play. Because when you are trying to batch something, if you are, like for me, for example, doing social media, if you have to do social media for your business, and you're doing all of your Facebook posts, and that's what you're working on, you're batching all of your Facebook posts, but then, you see the little notification up in the corner and you go click on it, And then all of a sudden that notification reminds you that you're supposed to message this other person. So then you go to the message and you message them, and then you see something off to the side, and you see an ad, or you see your email, or whatever. And so there's that time that you've been distracted, right? So 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes if you end up hitting a link and going shopping somewhere, right? There's that time. And then when you say, oh yeah, this is what I was doing, you go back to it, then you have to, going back to creating the Facebook post, for example, it's like, okay, now where was I? Okay, I was doing this. What did I do already? Okay, where was I? And so there's that recalibrating that you have to do. So not only does it take the 25 minutes, it's taking the extra time of whatever that time distraction time is that you have, right? Michelle says it takes 20 minutes longer to cook when the crock pot lid is lifted too soon. Exactly, right? If you have to cover things when you cook, some things, right? If it's required to cover it, if you uncover it, it takes longer, right? Because the water cools down and it has to heat back up, right? Good evening, Tammy. Hey, how are you? So yes, Michelle, that is a perfect example. It takes longer if you lift the lid on the pot. If you are being distracted, then it takes you longer. So just remember, it can take you up to 25 minutes to refocus once you've been distracted. And so over time during the day, how much time are you really wasting and spending on things that, number one, don't matter, all the distraction stuff? And now granted, sometimes the distraction stuff does matter. Sometimes you have to help your child, or you have to take a phone call, or you have an appointment, and you have to do that. But for the most part, a lot of our distractions don't have to be there. And then also that time of recalibrating. So it takes so much of your day doing all of that, and you're not getting things done, right? So what kind of things are distractions? So for those of you that are here, I know that there's a handful of you. If you could put into the comments, what do you think, or what are some of your distractions? Because I'm going to list some, but I know that you may have some that are different than mine. Everybody has their own kind of distractions, but there's some typical ones too. So like your email could be a distraction, answering the phone or looking at your phone, having other people around, right? If you've got kids coming in and out, if you've got family, especially during the pandemic, for those of you that are at home and your family has been at home as well, that's been a struggle for a lot of people, because there are other people around and you're not able to get away, right? Some people are used to going to an office and being at their desk all day long. Some people are used to their kids being gone, or their husband traveling, or whatever, and that changed. Text messages, notifications popping up on your phone. Exactly. Let's see. Food can be a distraction. It can be a distraction while you're eating, because then you have to, you're concentrating on that. But when I say food is a distraction, it can be if you're working, even if you're working in an office or you're working at home, wherever it is. If you're doing something and then you go to get a snack, and then you go to get water, and then you go to grab some tea, and then you go to have lunch, there's all of that getting up and getting down, going back and forth, getting the things. And it's kind of a procrastination distraction, right? Because you're doing something, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go grab something out of the kitchen because it's right there. And even if you're in an office setting, that can happen too. You don't want to be at your desk anymore, so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go grab something real quick. So food can be a distraction that not everybody thinks about. Too many things to do, bouncing from task to task. Yes. Tammy says her dog. Pets can definitely be a distraction. You have to get up, you have to let them out. They want to walk all over your stuff. They end up making a mess when you don't want them to, all of those things. Finding socks everywhere in the house and bringing them to the laundry room. The next thing you know, then what happens, right? Right. Yep. Text, email, children, games on your phone. Yep. Games on your phone for sure. Your husband comes home, starts a conversation. Yes, for sure. People watching TV. Yes, all of these things, right? I think I've mentioned this before too. I don't have a wall in my office right now, and I actually put up a sheet so I don't see outside of my office, because I was getting distracted by knowing that my husband was going to walk by, or seeing my son sitting at the counter. It's very distracting, even if you've got something happening in your peripheral vision, because there's that anxiety that, are they going to need something? Are they going to come over and talk to you? And you might not even know it. And I didn't realize it for a long time. And I looked over and I just realized, oh my gosh, that is so distracting. It's very, very distracting. It's kind of like if something's moving around, if you've got screensavers, if you have two screens and one screen goes to sleep, you've got this stuff moving around, that can be a distraction. What else? Speaking of screensavers, if you've got a screensaver that is photos, sometimes we have photos. They'll float across the screen, and it's like, oh, I remember when he was 5. And then you start thinking, and then you stare at it because you want to see more pictures go by. That's the worst screensaver to have if you are at your desk and you're trying to get things done. So screensavers can be a huge distraction. Gina says, we use a virtual assistant service in our business, so we avoid the distractions from phone calls. That's awesome. Our service schedules callback calls at appointment times. Yes, that's awesome if you can do that, right? You're avoiding that constant, oh, I need to pick up the phone. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that, right? Exactly. What other kind of things are distractions? Your physical environment can be a distraction. So if you are sitting at a desk and you've got all of this stuff happening around you, it can be distracting you without you even knowing it, because it gives you that anxiety. It makes you feel like, you come into your office and you sit down and you're like, I need to get to that. I want to clean it up, but I have to do XYZ, right? And so it doesn't get done. So that's why decluttering and organizing is so important, because our physical environment affects our mental environment, our internal environment, right? And that it becomes a distraction, and it's a distraction that we don't really know that's there sometimes. So all of those things, social media, scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through Instagram, ending up on Pinterest just because you were trying to find a recipe to cook dinner, right? There's all of these things that happen. And it all happens on this little tiny thing most of the time, but there's a whole bunch of other things that happen too. So all of those things that I just listed and that you just listed, those are things that you want to be aware of. So if you've got the dog that's barking, and you have to focus, what is it that helps the dog not do that? Sometimes you can't avoid things, but can you give the dog a really good treat when you really have to do, when you really need to focus? Or can you put them outside and they can be out there for a while? Or, that's just an example, and it's easier said than done, because every situation is different. But now we're going to get into ways to tackle all of these distractions, right? Okay, so some of them are obvious, some of them aren't obvious. Obvious, turn off or silence your notifications, right? If you get notifications, turn them off. But a lot of times we forget, or we don't want to, because we're afraid that we're going to miss something, or what if my son calls from school, or what if the school calls, I need to go, I need to be available. We lived in a time where, some of us lived in a time where where we didn't have cell phones, or we didn't have phones all the time, and you just had to deal with it if somebody couldn't get a hold of you, right? It's okay. You can survive. You will survive. The other people will survive if they can't get a hold of you right away. And in the world that we live in today, it's very hard to remember that, because everything is so easy to just, oh, I need to find that out. I'm going to call him right now. I'm going to text him right now. You don't have to know right now, or, they don't have to tell you right now, even though it feels like it, you don't have to. So it seems like a no-brainer, but turn off and silence your notifications. All those little red dots on, if you have an iPhone, I don't know what it looks like on an Android, but if you have all those little red dots on your phone, just looking at that without any of the notifications actually popping up. If you get a text message, for example, and you look at your phone and you see all of those dots are distracting. And it almost makes you want to go check it because it appeared, right? So visual notifications need to be silenced as well. And trying to train yourself to actually go and look at that thing when you need to or want to look at that thing. Not looking at it when it tells you to, looking at it when you want to. And I'm going to skip. I have a whole bunch of things that I want to list. I'm going to skip to one of the things because that leads right into it. Taking control of your time. If you don't take control of your time with all of the things, all the tools and the strategies that I'm going to talk about, you don't have to do all of them, but if you don't take control of your time and take care of some of these distractions, your time will take care of you, and it will take advantage of you, and people will take advantage of you. And an example of that would be a phone call. So Gina was talking about phone calls. If you need to call somebody real quick. Okay, I need to call this person. I need to call this person. I call this person, and you have 30 minutes. You could call somebody, and then all of a sudden something that takes 5 minutes takes 25 minutes. And it's because you start chit-chatting, or they start talking about something and you feel rude because you don't want to interrupt them. But you're not taking control of your time when you're allowing that to happen. I am guilty of this. And, all of this stuff that I'm talking about today is work in progress for me, work in progress for most people, but having the awareness and working on it is what's important. So the phone call, for example, others will take advantage of your time, not on purpose, not to be mean, not to say, ha, 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 I got her not to do anything today. But if you're on a phone call and then it keeps going, that's not okay, because it's taking time away from the other things that you need to do. So how do you take control of your time? You need to set boundaries with yourself and with others when you're doing stuff. So the phone call, for example, you can say at the beginning, hey, hey, I'm calling for XYZ. I only have 5 minutes. I just need to check on blah, 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 blah. Can you tell me whatever? Hey, I'm really, I wish I could chat, but I just need to check on X. Setting an expectation for the other person, knowing that you cannot stay on the phone. Or if you're going to visit, like you need to run and grab something from the neighbor, hey, I need to come grab this, but I only have a minute. So please forgive me for just, coming by and leaving real quick. That's taking control of your time. That's an example. So that's one of the ways that you can tackle distractions, by knowing what can happen and setting a boundary. When you're focusing on tasks and you know that you want to get XYZ accomplished, then doing these other things that I'm talking about and going to be talking about is setting boundaries. So, if you're turning off your notifications, if you're saying, I'm going to focus, I'm not going to do XYZ, I'm not going to check my email, that's setting a boundary. So think about that when when you find yourself getting distracted. Take control of your time. So turning off and silencing notifications, both visually and hearing, right? Audibly. Okay, so scheduling your social media and email time. So when I say scheduling, it's not like you have to say, well, at 3 p.m., I'm going to check my email. Although if you time block and you write everything out for your days, doing that is very, very helpful. So you can be structured and, schedule your stuff, but, just setting time aside. So if you need to get a project done and you have so much time to work on it, just tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to check my social media. I'm going to do that when I go to lunch, or I'm going to do that before I go to bed, or I'm going to set aside a time at 2:00 today to just sit down and unwind and go through all of these things, right? So either scheduling time or setting time aside for the things are going to happen, like social media and email time. That's something pretty much, for the most part. My husband doesn't do social media, so that's not for him, but he does read a lot on his phone and he checks lots of different sites for things. And so that's the same thing. So anything that you would scroll on your phone or email checking and that kind of thing, schedule time or set time aside for that. Yay, Mary Fran loves this. Yeah, setting boundaries up front for sure, especially when you're talking to people. You don't want to be rude, and it's better for both people, right? You don't want to get off the phone resenting anybody because it's like, oh, they just totally took advantage of my time. And nobody's doing it on purpose. It just sometimes can feel like that, right? All right, so next thing. Same idea as the one before, but scheduling or setting time aside for the other things are going to happen or have to happen. Like you have to eat or you have to make dinner. Some of us don't have to. Some, maybe your spouse or you have your kids making dinner or you're ordering out or whatever. But if you have to make dinner, if you're going to have to eat dinner, if you have kids, you're going to have to spend time with them. That's going to happen, right? You may really want to watch TV every single day. Or, some people don't watch TV, but if you do, there may be where you really want to have TV time. So if you know that these things are happening, this goes back to the planning and the acting, not reacting. If you schedule in all of these things in your calendar, or if you just plan the time or set the time aside to say, okay, I know that the kids need me to, fill their buckets and we need to do some fun things together, or I need to sit with them and do XYZ. Just set aside time to do that so that it doesn't feel like you don't have time for these things, or you don't have time for the stuff that you really want to get done because you're doing all of these other things, if that makes sense, right? Okay, so let's see, what's the next thing? Meal prepping and having food at your desk. So I mentioned that food can be a distraction, and it can big time, especially if at home in an office. I know that if I eat here, I work at home. My husband works from home most of the time when he's not traveling. And if I go into the kitchen to make lunch, then he hears me and he wants to come out, and then he starts talking to me, or vice versa. He'll go out and I'll go out. And then it turns into this long thing when really I just wanted to run in there and grab something and come back to the desk. So prepping your food ahead of time or knowing what you're going to grab to eat can help, or scheduling time to eat. Also, grabbing snacks and food and drink and having them at your desk, or having them in your car, or having them easily accessible can save time and help you from getting distracted by the food. If you have, that stuff set aside, you can just be like, oh, snack time, grab it, and keep doing what you're doing instead of getting up, going into the kitchen or the break room. Sorry, I couldn't get the word out. The break room, or driving into a fast food restaurant real quick that you didn't plan on. If you've got the stuff there, you can just grab it and eat while you're doing. So food, think about food. That is a definite distraction. And meal prepping and having even if you don't like meal prepping, I don't like meal prepping, but just excuse me, just knowing that you have food there that you can grab, or knowing that if you do go into the kitchen, your husband is going to come out and have a conversation. Then you need to set then you need to go to the boundary step, right? My mouth is really, really dry today. I must need a drink of wine. Okay. Actually, I probably need a drink of water instead. All righty. So let's see what's next. I've got a whole list that I want to make sure that I do. Okay. So one of my list items is taking inventory and gaining awareness. So I already talked about having awareness of all of these things. And I think that that's very, very important no matter what we're talking about. So if we're talking about productivity, if we're talking about decluttering, organizing, getting a hold of your time management, task management, all that stuff, being aware is going to help you way more than not being aware. So if you're just living every day and you're not really paying attention to what's happening, or what's creating the things that you don't like or that aren't working for you, if you don't have that awareness, it's just going to keep happening. But when you have the awareness, that can just automatically help you do different things. That's what happens in the lab. We are, working on decluttering and organizing, and one of them will, say, oh, I totally do this different now. And it's only because they have awareness of what they were doing before, because they've started doing it. And so once you start acting instead of reacting, once you start planning, once you start, getting your food set up, or any of these different things, you start to have an awareness, and then that can just automatically trigger you to do something else that's going to serve you better. Okay, so having an awareness, and then taking inventory means having too much on your plate. So at the very beginning, I said one of the reasons we have distractions is that we have too much going on. And if we take on way, way too much, then we have things that overlap that kind of have to happen at the same time. And then you do, go here and, oh my gosh, I have to do this. And oh my gosh, I have to do this. And so when I say take inventory, it means really look at all of the things that you've got going on and look at what you can offload, whether it's, delegating it, or, I've talked about, time management stuff. You can automate things, you can delegate things, you can say no, so really take inventory of, all of the things. Let's see. Okay, so some real quick things. Setting timers. That's a really big way to help yourself not get distracted. I do this all the time. I use my Alexa and I set a timer. And it's, it could be for 5 minutes, it could be for 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, whatever. Because I know that timer is going to go off when I need it to. And so that frees up my mind to do whatever I need to do at that moment. So setting timers is a very, very good thing to help you with distractions. Accountability, huge. If you want to stop distractions, use accountability. Have, we have power hours in the organizing lab. That is where, you come and you use that hour to get done whatever you plan to get done. And in that hour, you do it because you know that that's the time that you're setting aside. And so, and the accountability part is that you're doing that with other people, and they are doing the same thing as you. And so it makes you feel better that everybody else is doing the same thing as you, and everybody else is focusing. And then you can also have the ability to talk about it or ask about things when you're done, and celebrate what you've done, or whine about what you haven't done, that kind of thing. So accountability is very helpful when it comes to tackling distractions. Gina says, I'm good at time blocking for work hours and less with personal time. Yes. I totally can relate to that, and I'm sure a lot of people can. And that's one of the next things that's on the list is time blocking. And Tammy said, "Power hours are the bomb." They are, right? You get so much done because it's like, okay, we're here, and this is what I'm going to do, and you do it because other people are doing it too. It's worth it. It's worth more than gold. It's awesome. So time blocking is the next thing on the list. Time blocking. That helps you act and not react. It helps you fill in all of the different things that you know that you need to get done. And if you are looking at that, then you are more aware of what you need to do. And then you can, figure out what you need to do with the kids or with the dog or with the husband or with the lunch or whatever it is, right? And then batching is another thing that I've talked about in the past. Batching is where you do things that are like tasks. So all of your phone calls or all of your errands or all of your social media posting or all of your, financial stuff that you have to do for the day or whatever it is that you need to do, doing that thing together with other tasks that are that same thing. It helps you focus more because remember that quote that I mentioned at the beginning, it takes, what was it, 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back, refocus, and recalibrate once you've been distracted. And so by doing the batching, you're doing one thing rather than, scheduling some email, scheduling some Facebook, scheduling this, making some phone calls. You're doing all of one thing, and that can help you focus and not get distracted. So, wow, that was a lot. Let me just recap really quick. If you don't have a plan, if you are reacting, if you have too much on your plate, that's going to increase your distractions for sure. Sometimes you can't help it because it could be that you have ADHD. It could be that you have depression or anxiety, or it could be a physical thing that you have where you can't do things that can contribute to distractions as well. Different types of distractions: email, phone, social media, your physical environment, food, people, screensavers, dogs, kids, all the things, right? All of those things are different distractions that if you are aware, you can help prevent them by what are all the things we just talked about? Silencing your notifications, setting aside time for the things that you know are going to pop up or that need to happen, like dinner, kids, social media, email time, all of that. Figuring out how you're going to deal with your food, taking inventory of what's on your plate, taking control of your time so that people don't take advantage of it and so that you don't waste it, right? So you set boundaries. Let's see, what else is on the list? Using timers, having accountability, doing some time blocking and some batching. So those are all ways that you can tackle your distractions so that you can create a wonderful environment for yourself to work in whatever type of work it is that you are doing. Because even if you're out doing a physical job, if you are outside doing a physical job, or you are in a hospital, or you are, in a school, if you're a teacher, you can get distracted like, 1,000 different ways, right? If you're a mom taking care of your kids and you're at home, billions of distractions. Same with somebody that has a couple different jobs, or, everybody has it in every capacity. And it's really good to have all of these little tools to keep in your tool belt so you can have a good environment and a sanctuary to have success with your productivity. So that is why I am talking about that tonight. So yes, Gina, timers are great. They are amazing. Timers, accountability, those two things, hands down, best. All right. So that is what I have for this evening, talking about tackling distractions. I'm so glad that you were able to join me live. If you are here, if you're not and you're watching the replay, I'm so glad that you're catching the replay. That is awesome. And I want to offer for you all to really take advantage of the clutter breakthrough call that I offer. It's a one-on-one call with me. It's totally free. And it's a way to actually dive into the reason why you are stuck. There's so many reasons why you can get stuck or why you can't get to where you want to go, and having a new perspective can help you figure that out. And it's a way for me to help you figure that out and actually give you some tips and strategy to help you overcome that. So you can message me in the group, you can DM me on Facebook, you can email me, however you'd like to get a hold of me, and I'll send you my link to schedule the clutter breakthrough call because it is free and I would love to chit chat and talk to you and help you. All right. Okay, that is it for this evening. I'm glad to be back tonight, although I kind of really enjoyed being in the wine country for my anniversary, but I am glad to get back into the swing of things and catching up and doing all of this and being able to get back into Wine About It Wednesday. So I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, wherever you are and whatever time it is. And that is all I have for today. So cheers, and I will see you in the lounge. All righty. You're most certainly welcome, Ev. Bye. Bye for now.